Hello, hello, hello. It is me, your show host, Maxine Pearl Phillips McCoy, coming your way. Hey, listen, take a moment. Let someone know that you're here on the Life Strategy Show. Bring them in. We have another phenomenal guest, and you know all my guests are special. So there's no different than Rene Daughtry. He's here, and he's going to have some phenomenal information to share with us. But let's get some housekeeping out of the way. What is level less? Level less is success without levels. That's right, success without levels. And who do we serve? We serve professionals in transition. We're talking about unemployed, underemployed, those who are looking, and those who need to be promoted but unsure how, and those who've been overlooked. And what about if you're not sure who you want to be when you grow up? Okay, that's what we do. We're here to service you. I like to give thanks to Mark Lee, our producer. He does a phenomenal job in making sure that everything is in order for us to do this show. So I am excited. Let's talk about Coach Rene, Coach Daughtry. Let me give you a little bit of information about him. I think I met Coach about 5 years ago, and it never fails. And every time I see him on Facebook, he is helping young people. He's helping them with robotics. He's helping them with science, with math, with engineering. I mean, he has a heart of gold. He has a level-less heart. I mean, talking about knowing your worth and knowing how to advocate for yourself. But not only does he succeed for himself, but he also helps others. And that's what it's all about. It's about giving back. Yes, he is a 27-year veteran of a company at Cisco. But what I love about the other things that he does is that in 2010, Coach Rene, he identified a need for technical for our community, our Black and our Brown. The technical awareness was, it wasn't where it needed to be. So he was willing to take on that responsibility and start mentoring, start putting classes together, start bringing young people to his site so that they can see what is it like in the life of an engineer. What is it, to be? I see Shirley is checking in. Thank you, Shirley. She's coming from Texas. Let us know where you're coming from. But not only that, he created a company. I mean, he's going to tell us exactly what that company is, who he serves, and what he does. So let me introduce Coach Rene right now. Let's bring him in. Come on, Coach. Come on in. I'm blowing the whistle on you. It's time for you to come in and show your face.
I see. I see. Well, good
Okay,
evening.
technology is connecting. It's connecting. It's connecting. Is connecting, is trying to connect, is trying to connect. There he is. He's in living color.
There
Hello,
we
good
are.
evening,
There we are.
sir.
Well, good evening. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. Yes.
Wonderful. Well, good. There's
I
something I always say. There's something I always say about modern technology. When it's
uh-huh.
working, it's a wonderful thing.
Exactly. When it chooses not to, we have to pivot and do what we do best because we didn't always have it. So now we need to know what to do when it's no longer working in our favor. Well, Coach Rene, thank you for coming and thank you for being willing to share your phenomenal information and gifts with us. I love the fact that we're going to be talking about compassionate servant leaders. I love that because you're talking about something that you do from the heart. And we always say, if you love what you do and you just happen to get paid for it, that's an extra bonus. That's an extra bonus. So tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you do.
All right. I will gladly do that. And thank you again for having me on your show so I can get to spread the word a little bit and let people know what we're doing, who I am, and what am I about. Very briefly,
Yes.
though I've been at Cisco for 28 years, and I've been here in North Carolina 28 years, when I speak, people know that I'm not from New York. I'm sorry, I'm not from North Carolina. I'm from New York. And very briefly, I grew up in the Bronx and I grew up in the projects. So I basically came from the hood in New York. What I
Okay.
was
Okay.
fortunate with, very fortunate, my mom was a single parent. She was just five of us. I tell people my mom was my mom and my dad, my teacher and preacher, and warden and executioner.
All right. All right. All in one. A woman of many talents.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So,
What? Go ahead.
you want me? I continue. So
Go ahead.
from that, she was the one who taught me about being compassionate. And I want to make sure I make something very clear. Being a compassionate servant leader does not imply weakness. This is very important because people think when you're compassionate, well, you must be weak in some areas. That's not the case.
That's
And
right.
my mom was the one who instilled in us about being open to people, being good, being nice to people. If they did you some kind of wrong, I mean, we're going to rectify that. But all type of people from every walk of life, you just never know when you bump into people when you will see them again.
Come on.
Because you'll see people going up the ladder, and guess what? When you're coming back down again, you'll see them. Exactly, exactly. So I put that into my life practices, my business practice, my personal practice, and even with my own business about being very people aware because people are people. And now we know, Maxine and audience, we in some very disruptive, turbulent times. It's
Yes,
just
we
the
are.
nature of the world and the nature of the business. So there's something that I found, and again, I'll just start with a point number one. I like to call it greet and release, is what I like to call it. People go, "What do you mean by that?" Before COVID, we would come into a meeting, we'd be physical, we'd see everybody, you would greet everyone. Good morning.
Correct.
How are you today? And have that small talk. COVID forced us out of that and we went virtual. So what I've done, because it's Cisco, I'm a engineer, technical project manager. When I hold meetings, I make sure to greet everyone to the meeting. This also goes for my workshops at the Hayti Center. As the kids come in and my students, they've got to greet coach with a good morning and a fist bump. When people join my meetings, I call them by name and say, "Good morning. Maxine, thank you for joining the meeting today. How are you today?" I do that with every
Yes.
individual who joins my virtual meeting. So, what I'm doing is laying down this environment of openness and some good feeling. Because to me, that's very
Yes.
important to conduct any meeting that you're having.
Correct.
And then with that, again, I do the same thing with my students. And then once we're having the meeting and we're closing the meeting, or I'm closing my workshop, then I tell everyone, I do a kind of a roundtable. Everyone at the virtual meeting. All right, today's meeting is getting ready to end. Maxine, do you have anything for us to contribute? I go
Mm,
through everyone to close off the meeting, to get people
awesome.
talking, to get people collaborating, and again, establishing that good feeling between folks. And I do the same thing when I end my class with the students, be it kindergarten or high school. How did you feel? What did you learn? And make sure you come back and join us again, next week. So that's something that I've noticed by holding meetings and talking to people to establish that type of good feeling and good meaning around folks.
But that's the compassion in you. That's, I mean, because you're interested in understanding how people are feeling. Do they feel like they're a part of the meeting, a part of the environment? And not only that, what I'm hearing you say is that by doing the round robin and asking them, you give them an opportunity to share with you their learning. Because I'm a firm believer that learning hasn't taken place until you can apply it. And application is your interpretation of what you learned.
That's exactly right. And to make sure I'm looking for people to contribute. I let them know, even when I hold my workshops, I'm not going to stand up here and talk for an hour. We're going to collaborate and discuss some things, even though if I'm hosting the meeting. And it seems to work out real well. I've been doing this all my years, hosting meetings, or like I said, hosting my workshops.
Beautiful, beautiful. So that brings us to one of the first points that we mentioned in the advertisement that you'll be talking about, and that's understand the difference between traditional and servant leadership. You've already given us a little clue about how you welcome individuals into the room. So, what else are you going to share with us? What other strategy?
Well, servant leadership, I'm all about team. And I make sure that whomever I'm working with, it's not a I, it's a we.
Come on.
Right?
That's it.
We will succeed. And you know what? If we fail, we will fail, but come up with a solution to rectify where we made that misstep. And Maxine,
Right.
I want to make sure people understand there's no such thing as a failure. It's a learning opportunity. You took a misstep. You saw something went wrong. Don't fret over it. Think about what happened. Talk about what happened. Get other people's ideas in. What are we going to do for the next time so we don't take this misstep again? And did everybody learn from that misstep? But most important, share that misstep. Let
Come
people
on.
know. Let people know where you made a misstep and what did you do, what you learned from it, and what are you going to do better the next time? Because
Well,
you don't
that's a
want to,
platinum nugget.
excuse
Yeah,
me.
you just dropped a platinum nugget on them. Learn from that misstep. I like that you said a misstep, and it's
Mhm.
not a failure. So it's a change in mindset and the way that you think about it, and then do a lesson learned. What did you learn from it? What can you do differently the next go round? I love that.
Exactly. And I'm going to go back to that people are people again.
Right.
I'm really harp on that. And again, this goes with my meetings and with my workshops. If someone tells me, well, I'm going to be out because I'm going on vacation, I make a mental note. I'm not going to be there today, tomorrow, because I'm not feeling well. I make a mental note. If the kids tell me that, well, I'm going to not come to your class tomorrow because I remember that. Now, when I see them the next time around, oh, by the way, how was your vacation? I've
Mm-hmm.
established a one-on-one with that person, may not really be really friendly with them, but now I've established something where they see that I care. And then I'm asking questions. And I do the same thing with my
That's
kids. If
right.
they're going to be out from a class or they missed a class, what happened? You know, what prevented you from coming to class? Let coach know, and they'll let me
Yeah.
know. But I think
And
that's important.
it's so critical, coach. I love the fact that you build that rapport, because many times that's what individuals are looking for. They're looking to build a rapport. You're teaching them how to build a relationship at a young age, because relationships is so critical throughout your entire life. It's not just as you're a young person, but even as an adult and as an entrepreneur. We still have to build relationships, because people buy from who? Like, trust, and believe in, right? So all of that's a part of building those relationships. So I love the fact that you're establishing it with the young people as early as possible, and you carry it through into your own daily work on the job with professionals. So that's even more critical. So what else is some of the difference between a traditional servant leader?
Well, again, that people are people that caring about them, making sure that people they really see the genuine you. Because some
Good.
people know how to put on this facade where you think that they care, but you come to find out they're not either asking the right questions or really concerned. Just make sure you're true to your spirit with that, and people can feel that from you. And
Yes.
something as simple as this: I go to work, I go to the campus, and I see the maintenance people. Or if I'm going to a building or another establishment, people will bypass them. I will say, as I'm passing them, good morning or good afternoon. I don't
Yes.
know them, they're workers, but just again to show that people are people. And who knows, if I need something from them, you know what? I get it with open arms. So kind of
I said,
remember
yeah.
your position and who you are. You're not way above people. People are people. You're the same, and treat people that way.
I mean, you said it earlier. Those you pass going up are going to be the same ones you pass coming down. So that's the reason why you treat everyone with that respect, just a level of respect. I love that. So, what about the benefits of fostering an atmosphere of trust? How do you establish that?
Well, that was if we're working together, especially in the business world, and either something somebody needs from me, or if my services, because I do a lot of STEM work, STEAM or STEM type of workshops. If there's something that needs to be changed because of their business model, I won't neglect them and say, no, can't do it. Let's sit down and have a conversation and let's see how I can, because I'm very flexible. I'm flexible. How can I morph what I'm doing to fit your need right now? And when you start to work that way with people, I understand that you've got a certain way that you have to work, you got certain rules and regulations or a procedure. I always tell
Right.
people I'm 90% process and procedure, but 10% flexibility. Let's work something out. Right? And to give you a prime example, one of the schools in Durham, they wanted me to do a summer camp. I wrote the proposal, let them see what it was going to cost. They came back to me and said, look, coach, we don't have that much, but we have X amount of dollars. Can you work with us? Maxine, I said, of course. I was flexible. I still wanted to keep the business going. I still wanted the revenue stream to come in, but I understood their challenge. And I went, not a problem.
Yeah. And that's good. That's good, Coach. Yeah. That's good, Coach, because as business owners, we must be flexible. But at the same token, at least this particular establishment did not take your proposal and you never heard from them, or they told you that, no, there's just no way that they can do it, knowing that they had a limited budget to begin with, but they weren't willing to totally reveal it. Many times that's what I run into. You try to get the budget up front, but they, don't actually give it to you. And then once you put the proposal in and it's like, oh, well, we can't really do it. And then in your brain, you're thinking, okay, now did they take my proposal and just use what I said I was going to do for them and they had someone else to do it, or did they do it? But you know what? When at the end of the day, what I had to come to terms with, if they did, as long as they're helping the students, as long as they're helping individuals to move forward in life, then I am still doing what I'm required to do while I'm here on this earth. I can't control how somebody else think and do and behave. But I know that when I put the proposal in, it was, like you said, genuine. It was good-hearted, and it was meant to help another person. So I love the fact that you're flexible, and we all have to look at what is flexibility to us. Exactly. And then do it accordingly.
Exactly.
So don't be so rigid. Don't be so rigid. You can't bend. COVID has taught us we must pivot at a drop of a dime almost. So.
That's right. That's right. But just to close that out, guess what happened the next summer? They came back to me again, but this time they had the budget to pay for my proposal. So being flexible, and then they decided to come back and go, you know what? Now we can afford you. We can pay you the right way because the kids had a real good time. So it works out in the end. It works out.
It does. And the thing about it, Coach, is that you still gave the quality of service that you were going to give at the price that they accepted it versus the price that you quoted, but you still gave the same quality of service. And that's what was important.
Exactly. Another area of compassionate servant leader, this is just my own personal opinion. We're working with all types of people. And our business is global. We have people from different countries. I try to stress that when we're working with people out of our culture, make sure to pronounce the names correctly. I make sure that I hear clearly. I may ask people 2 and 3 times to repeat for me so I can make sure when I'm addressing them, I'm saying their name correctly. Because if you in business, you mispronounce somebody's name sometimes, they're going to kind of hold that against you. They're like, where are you coming from? So be very conscious of that. We're out about, we're African Americans, but we're dealing with people from the Asians and Indians, and we got to make sure to treat people as people, and we give them that respect to pronounce their names correctly.
Yeah. And Coach Daughtry, that is definitely a challenge for me at times. And so what I have learned to do is when I ask them for the pronunciation of their name, I try to write it in syllables, just so it helps me to understand how it's sounding to me so that I can feel comfortable pronouncing it. And so, but you're right that, your name is the sweetest, as they say, the sweetest sound you want to hear, so it's very critical. And this is another nugget. This is a platinum nugget that not only for the business owners, but also something that we can teach our young adults, because it starts at the earliest age possible and it follows through for the rest of their lives while they're here. And so it's important that we pass these nuggets on. So ladies and gentlemen, please do not just keep this information to yourself. Make sure that you're sharing it with other people. That's the whole purpose of why I do this platform, is because we bring in, look at this qualified, gifted individual who's sitting in front of us, who's sharing these platinum nuggets with us. and it's not costing you anything but your time. So what we ask of you is to use it, implement it, but then share it with other people. So we just never know who need it at that given time. But if you're willing to share, just pay it forward. All right. So, Coach, you just foster that atmosphere of trust. When you're working with these young adults and you're talking about the robotics and the engineering and the STEM program, how do you get them to build trust among each other? Because they're still learning, they're still in that growth stage. I think there's a delay.
Yes, we dropped for a second. I'm back.
All right. So what I was asking was the fact that with you working with the young people, the young adults, and you're fostering that atmosphere of trust, how do you get them to build that trust among each other? Because they are still in the growth stage of life.
Interesting you said, because right now at the Hayti Center, I've got about 15 to 20 young, I call them my young warriors. I've got from kindergarten to 8th grade in the class. So I've got these different wide ranges of boys and girls, and I have to really get them to collaborate together because I've got different attention spans. What I found, especially in my coding or my robotics class, is that I have the older mentor and work with the younger ones. So even in my coding, I'll pair up the kindergartner with a 6th grader, give them some lessons and let them have, hold a workshop, but have them work together. I found out that peer-to-peer mentoring and instruction is one of the best. One of the best.
Yeah.
Plus, Coach, they know I have Instagram, I have TikTok, Facebook. I've got all of their social media. So when they found that out, they thought Coach was the coolest thing on the planet because I had those. But I did that for a purpose, Maxine, especially working with youth. And everyone out there, please take this to heart. I had to step into their world of music, their world of social media. One day my phone rang and Lil Wayne came up on it with Nicki Minaj, and they, Coach, I went, yes. That established a relationship with me and the kids like you wouldn't believe, because I had to step into their world. Once they knew and they saw that I've got all these social medias and I'm working like they are, to bring them into mine was very simple. That was that trust bill right there.
Yes. What you said reminds me of what I do. Is like, meet the person where they are. Meet them where they are. And then help take them where they want to go. And you're right. You build that rapport. And that's what life is all about, is building a rapport and building a relationship so people will open up. And then you can hear them and they know that you heard them, that they matter, that you see them for who they are and their gifts and their talents and their abilities. And even what we call our challenges. So we're transparent with them that they can see the vulnerability that we have. So I'm loving what I'm hearing, Coach. I need to be a fly on the wall in one of these workshops. I'm like a sponge. I'm ready to learn. So one of the other things that we said that we would talk about this evening is combining leadership skills with empathy. So give us some strategies on how you combine your leadership skills with empathy.
Well, what the way I have to go back to myself again. I think it's probably my character and just the way I am. I'm always kind of upbeat, always good natured. People can kind of feel that from me. So I always say you have to exude that, right? And again, feel what when you have that, you can actually feel people's vibes.
Yes.
And you can tell when they come into a room. It's the way people walk. It's the way they look. That look on their face that they're not having a good day or they've got something going on in their life. Be receptive to that and try to find a way to work with them so they can open up to speak. Because there's something I like to. I was going to say this to last, but I'm going to do it now. Listen to people, and when I say listen, I don't mean listen to respond. Listen to learn. because that way you can find the things that's going on. All right. Because like I said, everybody's having issues right now, and how to
Right.
empathize with those folks and how to help them if need be, or at least give some type of good encouraging word with a smile or a good gesture.
Yes. I
Now I hope
love
I,
it.
I hope that answered that.
It did, it did. But you know what this brought to my mind is the fact that I'm like you. I'm a happy-go-lucky individual. I'm always upbeat. You always see a smile on my face. And it's not that you don't have bad days. It's like I tell everybody, I choose to be happy. So you have a choice in life. And my life is I choose to be happy. And so when people meet me and they keep seeing me like that, it's like, well, what does she have up her sleeve? It's like
Mhm,
nothing. This is who I am. What you see
mhm.
is what you get. And my whole objective is to help the next person. It's not what's in it for me. It's how can I be of servant to you? How can I collaborate? How can I partner? How can I help you, move your agenda forward? Not take it on, not take it over, but what can I do to contribute towards it? And so if you pay it forward and have that mindset, then you don't have to worry about what's in it for you. The universe will make sure that you get what's due to you. And so I love the fact what you just said. That's it. I love the compassionate leadership. That's what it's all about. That's where the heart is. Man looks at the outer appearance, but me being a believer, we already know the Almighty looks at the heart.
Exactly, exactly. But I make sure people also understand. Like I said, I'm from New York. Let's not get this twisted. I'm compassionate servant leader, but if I'm poked or prodded a little too much, it's like a light switch. So that part can come out as well. I tell people, don't get things twisted because you see my happy-go-lucky side. But generally, I just go with the flow. I'm just thankful for that day when I wake up in the morning, and I tell that to people. I've got financial
Yeah.
problems, I got bills, I got problems like everybody else. But I was given another day to improve myself or why we were put here to help somebody. And
That's right.
if more of that went on in the world, this is just my opinion, we wouldn't be in a situation we are now. Do well for yourself,
Can I get a fist
help somebody.
bump? Can I get a fist bump? Can I get a fist bump? Because I'm in agreement with you. I am so in agreement with you that if more of us thought that way, you're right, the world would be in a much better shape than where we are today. And we would be open enough to help each other and collaborate because there are enough people in this world for everybody. All of us entrepreneurs out here, let's just collaborate, partner. I can't take on every person that come to me that want me to take them on as a client, but it's beautiful to be able to hand them over to someone else that I know who's going to take care of them and I can trust them with. So that's what it's all about, is building that camaraderie, building those relationships, knowing that you have someone else who has that same servant heart. I'm loving it. So, so Coach, tell me. Go ahead.
Something I just want to emphasize, something you had said, and see, you're an entrepreneur after my own heart. We stay in our lane. We're knowing an expert at that. But if there's something else that
Right.
comes up that's outside of our lane, we know in our network we have someone who has that expertise and gladly
Yes.
pass that opportunity on to go, look, this is in your lane. You go ahead and take care of this. And what I found when you do that, that person then, if they have something that's in your lane and they can't do it, they'll call you.
Right. They'll call
Mhm.
you, they send that person over to you. And that's what life is all about, is paying it forward and helping others move forward in life.
Exactly.
So, as I started reading your bio, and tell me a little bit about the company that you started. I know you help the youth, and I know what you do with the youth, but tell us a little bit about the company. I don't want to mispronounce the name, so you pronounce the name.
I will do that. Asymmetry. I call it the fourth sector. Um,
Okay.
being an engineer, and I love math and science, I went to myself, how do I give back to my community? Really concentrating on my black and brown, especially my little boys. I got to think about making sure my young men see me so they can at least have a role model to look at. So I went, you
Right.
know what? I'm an engineer. I've got a love of math and science. Let me see what I can do to have an extension of myself. Asymmetry was born. I started with
Okay.
robotics. 2009, first Lego robotics. That word first means for inspiration and recognition in science and technology. I was in love. I went, that's it. That's what
That's
I'm going to
it.
bring to my boys. This Lego robotics competition. And people were asking me at that time, why are you so heavily into robotics? Robots. Well, guess what? Now you see robots are everywhere.
That's
So
right. That's
we
right.
moved the asymmetry from robotics to dynamics of flight, drones, principles of electricity, teaching kids with these electrical kits how electricity works, hack the world, drone technology, gaming, game design. I'm going to give a shout out to the National Society of Black Engineers here in RTP. They came to one of my sessions and did a chemistry session, had the kids make their own hand sanitizer. So what grew from my doing robotics wound up expanding because I had other young men, other wanted to join me in this force. So I said, you know what? This is principles of electricity is your expertise. Game design is yours, Coach Anthony. Let's get together and let's join my company and let's now offer these workshops to our youth. And we're all called coaches. And the reason
Come
why
on.
I did that, I find my young men and my young girls, but more my young men, identify better with a coach. Instead of being Mr. Daughtry, I need help, it's Coach, can you come help me? And I told my
Right.
staff, I said, we are going to be coaches. And when people ask us, well, what do you coach? We tell them, we coach you to be the best that you can be in your mind and spirit. Maxine, we got them when we say that. But
I
that's
love
what
it.
this company is.
Yes.
2009.
2009. Oh, coach you to be better in your mind and spirit. And that's where it all starts. It starts in the mind, and then the spirit is in that heart. So go from the mind to the heart, and then it solidifies itself there. Oh, I love it, love it, love it. So knowing what you know now, coach, what would you tell your 17-year-old self?
Now, I'm going to put this in the frame because I've always known this, but my pastor, Pastor Charles Brooks, Popular Springs Christian Church, he had a sermon a couple of Sundays ago, and I let him know what you just said to me in this sermon is what I've been following all this life. I told him I was going to have I'm on a podcast. I'm going to give him a shout out to let him know. He put this back into perspective for me. If I could go back, I'd tell myself, stay on the road. Stay on the road. The road's going to be bumpy, but stay on that road and don't deviate too much, because that's the road the Lord put you on, your purpose and your mission. Stay focused, because you're going to get a lot of haters.
Yeah.
You get haters because they can't do what you're doing. So they figure they're going to come at you and try to tear you down. So stay on the road, stay focused, and be prepared, because that blessing and that business is going to take off. So
That's right.
I kind of always knew what I was doing, but Pastor Brooks, he put that in perspective for me a couple Sundays ago. And I wrote them down. I said, now this is what I'm going to be telling my youth. When I go back next week at the Hayti Center about their life and the things they're doing now. So stay on the road, stay focused, and be prepared.
I love that. Stay on the road, first of all. So, I mean, don't deviate. Don't go into the weeds. Don't go into the woods. Don't go on the side, as they say, the bumper side, but stay on the road, and stay on the road in which you know that you've been gifted to do, that you know your abilities and your strengths, that you just walk down that road and stay focused. I love the fact that you're helping our young people to understand the fact that people are going to come to you in different ways, in different forms, and they're going to try to get you to deviate. They're going to try to get you to not focus. The last, one of the things that I know a lot of young people are faced with from time to time is that when they become an honor roll student, or they are inducted in the National Honor Society, then you get other young people who come and say, well, you think you're so smart. You think you this, you think you that. And then they no longer want to be in that status. They no longer want to be in that position. And that's an unfortunate thing, but it happens all the time. And so what we have to do is help our young people, what you just said, just to stay focused. And not only our young people, coach, but even some adults have to stay focused. Entrepreneurs must stay focused, because if we're not careful, we're going after the wrong niche, the wrong target market.
Exactly.
Because that's not who we are supposed to be catering to. That's not the assignment that we were given. I was reminded that of last November when I became ill and I had time to take a step back and reevaluate everything. And I remember what dropped into my spirit was, Maxine, you've deviated from the assignment that I gave you. So you have to get back on that road and stay true to the assignment that I've given you.
Yes.
So we have to help other people to understand that as well. We're not exempt because we're business owners. We're not exempt because we're coaches. We're just authentic and transparent that it happens to all of us. We're all human, and just know that.
Exactly.
What do
We
you
had one,
think?
and we had one of the biggest disruptors that we've had in our life. That was COVID. Shut us
Yes.
down. Shut us down.
Yeah.
So here I am with my workshops always in the classroom. And then I went, I can't go to the classroom anymore. That gave me time to stay focused, rethink things, stay on the road, and say, now, you know what? We're now going to offer in-person and virtual workshops. Things kept going.
Yeah. I mean, and many times even organizations have found that because people work from home, they were very productive. And in the past, they thought, oh, that's the worst thing we could do is have someone to work from home. But let's look at what COVID did. It forced us to pivot. It forced us to look at things and do things a different way. And we can't lose sight of that just because now it seems like things are opening up, but you got that hybrid type environment that we can adhere to. We don't have to just do it one way. There's options. I love options. I absolutely love options. So that's good. Anything else you'd like to share with us when it comes to what you're doing?
Well, just again, morphing into other categories, bringing something I hope new to this area. I'll mention it just very quickly, and I'll just say two words that what it involves. It's called drone soccer.
Okay. Ooh, listen, you're putting a teaser out there.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Because I have people going to me, what is that? I went, stay tuned. You'll find out.
Oh my goodness.
Putting a couple of things together.
I think it's awesome. So how are people going to be able to find out what this drone soccer means?
Well, believe it or not, it's on YouTube, but it's not in this area. And when I'm looking to, I put the application out to be able to be part owner, of bringing it to North Carolina and getting our kids involved. But it's the idea of taking the game soccer and now using drones to kind of blend these two ideas together, which I think is very interesting.
I absolutely love it. I'm sitting back here with this big old cheese across my mouth, my face, right? And the reason what comes to my mind is because when I do this assessment with our young people, our young students, our young men, our young women, and it helps me to understand that they have that focus, they have that engineering mind, they have that technical mind, then it gives me another option for them to look at, another, profession, another career path for them to consider. So they're not limited. It's unlimited on what they can do. The possibilities are there. We just have to put it in front of them and make them aware of it. I appreciate you so, Coach, doing the things that you're doing and helping our young men and our young women. I mean, use all of these gifts and abilities that they have, and they're acquiring even more.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Now, I did a shout out to my passion. If you don't mind, I'm going to do one more because there's another gentleman that I'm working with. He's another prime example of compassionate servant leadership. His name is Mr. James Montague, F7 Development. Yeah. Yes.
I know him.
And working with him now, because I'm working with him to bring up his innovation centers of these new centers he wants to bring up. But when I first met him and I understood who he was, and the more we worked together, I went, he's another example of being a compassionate servant leader. Community, yes, he does development. Yes, he's bringing in those revenue streams, but he gives back in a heartbeat. Totally unbelievable young man. Totally blew me away. I love working with him. So I told him I was gonna call his name today, let people see these are the people in our community that's being this compassionate servant leader who has a business, who cares about people in our community, and making sure we as a people are moving forward.
And you know what? And they're also doing what we call that social responsibility. They're giving back and they're ensuring that the community is growing. I mean, they've benefited from it. They know what it was like when they had to struggle, but now they're trying to make sure that we help with what the next generation. We want to help them move forward in life. We want to give them the opportunities. We want to expose them to things that we were not being able to be exposed to. Although drones were not back in the 70s when I was in high school, but the fact is there were other things that were available that I still was not exposed to. But we ourselves make sure that our children are exposed. And I just received the president's, lifetime achievement for giving back, for volunteering. Over 50 years of volunteering. I started out as an 18-year-old volunteering at the church. So it's instilled in you. It's something that you have a heart for. It's not something that someone can train you to do. Being a compassionate servant leader is something that's already part of your DNA. So let's make sure we get that understood as well.
Yes.
So what do you have to say today?
And that being compassionate does not mean weakness. I've got to make sure that people understand that. It doesn't mean that at all.
Right. So, Coach, how are they going to get in touch with you? Can you put some contact information for us? How do you want them to reach you? Well, Paulette is watching. So we got Paulette. Hello, Paulette. Do you have a question for the coach? Any suggestions, any comments of what you've heard this evening? It would be nice to know. What are you going to take away and share? Okay, I went Shirley from Texas and Paulette, I think she's from Raleigh. So that's good to know. So, Coach, so what's going to be your contact information?
Real simple. You can send me an email, Rene Daughtry at either asymmetry.com or even simpler, Rene Daughtry at gmail.com. Just my whole name, Rene Daughtry. I try to make it very simple.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Well, we'll make sure that we'll put that out there on Facebook so they'll know how to get in touch with you. Because, I mean, I'm not a teenager at this point, but I would love to know about this drone soccer. So I do have grandkids though, so that's going to be interesting. I am so proud of you and all that you're doing. And just know that I'm not just a cheerleader for you. I'm a supporter. So we're going to have others to make sure that we're supporting the initiatives that you're doing, and let us know how can we continue to support you and in what capacity.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Because there's something I like to say that to take a word from Gil Scott-Heron. He said, there's no such thing as a Superman. We have to do for our community. We have to take care of the community on our own. We have to get together to make sure that we're moving everything forward, keep it playing forward. So I like to make sure everyone understands that. We are responsible. We have to do it.
That's right. We must do it. And I know my mom, she, without her even realizing what she did for me, she was a mentor for over 200 of the youth in our community. And here I am, I do mentoring, I'm a coach, I do life strategies, I do performance and helping people move forward. So it's beautiful to see that her legacy is carried on even through me. And my children have a servant heart just like I do. So it's beautiful to see the generation to generation to generation is absolutely happening. So, Coach, this is going to end our session for today. I thank you very much. Oh, Paulette said, great quote, Coach. Great quote. And so, listen, I'm going to have you back because we're going to have to know more about this drone soccer. And we'll have to let them know when everything is open and when you need registration, when you'll be taking registration and all that good stuff. Okay?
Sure.
We have to make sure we help you get the word out. Make sure we have to get the word out. So as we end our session this evening, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to chime back in next week, same time, same place, that we're going to have another phenomenal speaker. And this speaker is going to be a big, big, big surprise. So you must be present. You just never know what Maxine Phillips, the Levelist lady, is going to have for you. So that's why you have to join me every Monday at 7:00 to tune in on what's going on. Now, don't forget, at 8:00, I'm going to be speaking at Every Dot Black. And I put it on my web. I put it on the Facebook, and there's a link for you to register so that you can hear. I'm going to be talking about the leveless mindset. And what does leveless mean? It means success without levels. And how do you lock that and shift the mindset to become levelless? So I'll see you next week, same time, same place. Until then, I trust and I believe in you, and I trust you believe in yourself. Have a great evening.
Telling me to dance, taking a chance. Telling me to dance, taking a chance. Telling me to dance, taking a chance.